All right, an official piece, y'all. And happy June and happy upcoming Juneteenth. Summer is in full effect, whether it's official or not, it is here. The sun is beaming and out, providing a lot of vitamin D for us. So we're so grateful. So, okay, so we have a few people here today, and we want to take a moment to make sure that everybody is recognized. So, what we normally do, whether you new, old, whatever, herb nerd or not, we always allow everybody to introduce themselves in the chat, and or you can speak and say who you are, what area you representing, and what herb is resonating with you tonight.
Hey y'all, this is Larry.
Hey Larry.
What's up? Yeah, I'm just repping Temple, Texas. So I don't know. My favorite herbs is the hibiscus and the cloves, but I'm drinking water right now.
Nice. You true with the hibiscus and cloves. I like it. But staying hydrated. That's cool. Right. Who else? Who else is representing herb? Where are you from?
So I'm gonna go ahead and go. This is Martina, y'all. And like Asia said, it is hotter than hot down here in the FLA in Florida, and that's where I'm calling in from and representing. I'm going to have to definitely rep okra tonight. I don't have any okra right now. I have some in my hair and my face. That good old okra water. I got the okra going in the garden. With this type of heat, I just think about okra's moistening qualities. But I'm like Larry, I'm drinking some H2O right now. So yeah, tonight I'm Mama Okra is back, y'all. Mama Okra is back. That's what I'm repping.
Nice Martina piece. All right. So yeah. All right. All right. I'll go next then. I think H2O is the drink of choice so far tonight because I'm definitely drinking some H2O to replenish. And I would say the herb that is resonating with me right now is roses. So roses is can be a cooling herb. It can take some of the heat away, like you put it on your skin, and it can help reduce like signs of heat rash and different things. And again, it's cooling. So I'm feeling that right now. And I'm representing Vegas right now. I'll be representing something else pretty soon, but that's another conversation for another day.
Right. And feel free, if you like, to go ahead and tell us what herb is resonating with you right now, if you like, in the chat. So this is definitely just a cipher. If you like to unmute yourself, definitely feel free to unmute yourself. We're glad to have you. And we're also waiting on our third Spice sister, Lanita, who's trying to get in. So we're trying to work on the technical side of things as well to get our other Spice sister in. So, Alexandra, I saw you unmuted your mic.
Peace, everybody. I am Alexandra, coming to y'all from Chicago. Just found out about this like 2 days ago. Herb that is resonating with me is, well, for the past couple months, nettles. I have some in a jar with some vodka at home that I need to strain out. But nettles is, I could drink that every day, all day.
Hold up. Is this
And
Alexandra from Chicago that I recently got connected with?
yes. Yes.
Wow. Thank you for, I got to tell Asia about this later, but thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
So good
I'm
to hear
glad
your
to be
voice.
here.
Yeah. All right. Nettles, Chicago, FLA representing. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes. And I'm originally from Florida and I will be back there later this year. But yeah, I'm glad to be here with y'all.
Dope. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, welcome.
Right.
All right.
Okay. What we got next, Asia?
Let's see. So, okay. So your facilitators for this evening are, go ahead, Martina.
It's me, Mama Okra, aka Martina, aka Boogie. It's me. And we got
Asia, aka Asia. AKA Asia.
AKA Lady Lavender, stop fronting.
All right. And Lenita is joining us pretty soon, but she's definitely here in spirit. So she's repping Senegal, and I know she got all kind of herbs in her arsenal, but she'll tell us about it when she gets in. All right. So since we were talking about Juneteenth apothecaries, Juneteenth herbs, we want to definitely pay homage to the grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee. So it says on the screen, if you can see it, she's a social activist and author. So Juneteenth became an officially recognized holiday about 3 years ago. And so that's on the calendar, you know, that's on the federal recognition list. However, because I'm from Texas, so when I'm saying we, you know, we recognize that Juneteenth started as a celebration in Texas because there was years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, 1865. The word had not gotten around yet. If we have any young people on the chat, just know that we couldn't send text messages or send, you know, we couldn't phone people up and things like that. Word had to travel through the mail or through word of mouth as people traveled along the trail. So years later, the people in Texas finally got the word that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, and that we actually, as a country, were recognized as free. The enslaved Africans were recognized as free during that time. So that is what Juneteenth celebrates. So we recognize it as Freedom Day in this country. And so a lot of people are celebrating that coming up. So on this slide here, again, June 19th, it's celebrated on June 19th, all right? And we're saying that we are knowing it as our Independence Day, okay? So, oh, it was in 1865, there we go, June 19th, 1865. So, now, when we talk about apothecary herbs and Juneteenth apothecary, the tone of this, and it can go many different ways. So I want to remind everybody, this is a cipher. We're here talking. We're not teachers. We're part of the community, just leading a discussion. But the tone of this discussion, some of it is like, what are some of the herbs that we are using that our ancestors use, right? What are some of the herbs that we're recognizing that our ancestors use? What are some of the tools in our boxes, in our bags? Like, you know, you might have that switchblade so you can cut something. That's something that you maybe got from your uncle. What are some of those things that you use? What are some of the things that you still do today that your folks did, right? So that's what we're thinking about. So in that vein, what are some of the things that your folks did? What are some of the herbs that your folks used back in the day? Or if you don't know, what are some of the things that you recognize that are ancient herbs or that are cultural herbs? So I'm gonna open the chat a little bit for that.
I want to start off by saying, you know, I have family from many different, not many, but different directions, which is a beautiful thing. And I was having a conversation with my paternal grandmother, who's 96 years old, and she is from Baltimore and then migrated up to New York City. And we had this conversation about back in the days, and there's always this theme about, you know, that washout. You get that washout when the children go back to school, or that cleansing, and the washout tends to be different things like castor oil, wormwood, and everywhere I go and I talk to different folks in my family, whether they're from, you know, the South or different places they've migrated, it's a different herb, but there's those bitter herbs that we take to cleanse ourselves, those anti-parasitic herbs. And it usually falls like seasonally in the fall, at the end of summer and fall, or whatnot. So that's one of the big things that comes up for me. I think about castor oil. I love castor plant. So it's an amazing plant. And I can go down a rabbit hole when it comes to castor oil, just things that I've learned from my elders, just people I've collaborated with, beautiful, amazing birth workers, just applications of castor. I also think of wormwood and cerasee, because I'm in Florida, and that good old cerasee, aka that bitter melon, which just grows everywhere out here, is another real bitter herb that a lot of family out in the Caribbean talk about using for the same purposes. So I wanted to just throw that out there. Definitely those bitter herbs and that washout. I had to start off with bitters, Asia. So yeah. Anybody else feeling the bitters? Do I got any other bitter collaborators and lovers?
I'm feeling bitter.
I absolutely love bitter.
Oh.
That is one of my favorite flavors. So bitter melon. I didn't grow up eating a lot. So my people are Haitian. And I don't remember a lot of bitter flavors. I don't know why, because I actually love it now as an adult. But so bitter melon, all the things that are in those like parasite cleanses, I'm like, oh, I could just take this all day. But they be like, no, you don't need it every day. But I'm like, I like bitter. Bitter is nice. But speaking of herbs that I grew, or some of the medicines I grew up on, a lot of star anise, a lot of clove, garlic, cinnamon, a bunch of things that my mom said the names of way too fast, and I couldn't remember what they were, but they were all these Haitian herbs that she brought back from Haiti and grew in our backyard. Bitter melon also, there's a version of bitter melon. It's a small orange version in Haiti that she uses the leaves to make a tea with, and like you mix it with like a garlic and onion. Sounds interesting, but I love that taste. So those are the medicine herbs I'm accustomed to.
Alexandra, we met for a reason, because I always get it when I talk about my love of bitters with my herbal fam. And you just told me you love bitters. And I think we're talking about the same plant. I'm pretty sure it's not the bigger versions of bitter melon. It's small, the little orange fruit. And it has red seeds. They call
Yeah,
it.
That's it.
And one of my students, that is Haitian. She told me her mom called it SOC. SOC. I'm probably saying that all kinds of wrong, but
yes, associate. Yeah.
SOC. Okay, dope. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. All right. Anybody else want to share some stories? What y'all got in your little herbal bags? What's y'all legacy, your herbal apothecaries, your peoples, folks? What we got?
Well, I can definitely say when you started talking about that castor oil, it's wonderful. It works wonderfully. I'll say it that way. The taste, not so much, but that's a definite staple in my family on all sides. You use that castor oil, get things moving, get things cleansed out. And, that's something that your grandmama would line you up for, and make sure that you were cleansed out. Because you don't want no worms and stuff like that. You don't want the kids to have no worms. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff we did. And then always, if you've been around the Herbalist Lounge long enough, you hear me talk about life everlasting. So when my mother was a child, my grandmother, my great grandmother, would actually tell her to go and pick that from outside. So my mom, she already knew what the plant looked like, how to identify it, and which part to pick, right? So growing up, my mom, she had asthma. And so anytime she would have like fits or, she was starting to kind of wheeze, then my great grandmother would boil that and have her drink it as a tea. And that was in Savannah, Georgia back in the day. So stuff like that. And then my mom, she was always inclined to herbs. It was kind of funny because when I was coming up, I was like, oh, I don't like how that eucalyptus smells. Oh, I don't like when you put that aloe on me when there's a burn or a cut on my finger or, on my skin. Oh, why you got that cinnamon broom? Oh, all that stuff that I'm my whole mama right now. So, all those things that I used to look at my mom funny, like now I'm doing it. And that is a part of our family legacy.
Not ill to the cinnamon though. Oh no.
Oh, I don't know. It smelled funny to me back in the day. I love it now.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's strong, it's potent. That tea tree oil, help me, please. Why are we doing this? Whew.
That's funny. Funny. Yeah, that tea tree can get you. But even then, I like the smell of Lysol. And come to find out, that's that tea tree right there.
Mm-hmm. There you go. All right. Anybody else like to share what's in their herbal bag? I got a story about yarrow I like to share, but I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor up just in case anyone else wants to share. Like something.
Yeah, I don't have any herbal stories. I mean, the only closest thing I have to herbal is I get in trouble with my grandmother. You had to grab the switch off the bush, and that's about it.
No, that's a herb plant story for you now that I can relate to as well. And I started learning which switches would hurt the most. The thicker ones didn't hurt as bad as them little skinny ones.
Oh, you unlocked yeah, different relationship with plants and herbs that I just completely put out my mind. You got to go pick out that switch.
Don't stay away from them weeping willows, Larry.
Oh,
Doctrine of signatures. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. So I wanted to share this as just a mama and just somebody who gets into incidents every now and then with these paper cuts and just cuts and scratches and sprained ankles. Y'all already know, Asia. I started carrying yarrow, which is a great herb to have for many, many, many different things. But it was one of the very first herbs that I learned about. And when I was learning about yarrow, I was learning about how it was an herbal styptic amongst many other things. And with yarrow, a styptic is an herb that can help staunch the bleeding. So of course, I'm like, learning about it in books, class, having discussions. I'm waiting for someone to bleed so I can go ahead and test this out. So I always have my yarrow on deck. And lo and behold, the first time I had sliced my finger with a knife and that blood was just oozing out, I actually had some dried yarrow. It wasn't even fresh. So I got a little bit of water, rubbed it, kind of softened up the yarrow, placed it on top of the cut. It stopped it instantaneously. Like it really, really works. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine a couple of days ago. And the reason why was because I was bringing her some yarrow seeds from my garden because she just moved down to Florida and she's like, hey, I want to try to grow some yarrow or whatnot. She uses it for different reasons. She takes it as a tincture internally. And she hit me up yesterday and was like, oh, all of a sudden one of the babies had a nosebleed. And we tried different things that we've used before. And this may sound crazy. They've used cayenne pepper. And yes, cayenne pepper can also be something that opens up passageways, but it also can be something that can help with bleeding and pain as well, which is the amazing thing about herbs. But they were like, nah, I didn't know about the cayenne pepper for the nose. So I thought about what you had just told me about the yarrow, and they had some dried yarrow. They said it worked amazing. And it was the only thing that would help stop the nosebleed. Of course, you want to get to the root issue of everything going on, but I was like, good old yarrow, it's a good first aid herb to have on deck. And something to moisten things with, because when I'm out and about and I have herbs like a little bit of powdered cayenne pepper, some yarrow or whatnot, in certain situations, when you have these herbs, you might want to make like a poultice. Spit is exactly what you're gonna use. Peace. Yes, exactly. Right. So you need a little bit of moisture. You beat me to it. You're gonna have to just go ahead and do what you gotta do. And that's what my grandma did, and that's what I do. And mash it up, make you a little mass, and there you go. And that's the original healing serum, poultice. So yeah, good old yarrow and your herbs, and yes, that spit amongst other fluids. If Lanita was here, she can talk about them bodily fluids.
I have a question about the yarrow. Did they put it in the baby's nose?
So it wasn't a baby; it was an older child, which that can be a big deal, right? You want to be a
Yeah.
little careful, but they put it. I guess the nosebleed. What they did was they made a poultice from it in a compress. So they made a big mass in a compress and they pushed it up. It was moist, and probably to the point where it was, how you have like a compress and it's dripping with like infusion of yarrow in a sense, and they just pressed it up against the nosebleed.
Got you. Thank
Now
you.
with a baby, yeah, most definitely. Baby, you might want to get a little bit creative, you can do herbal steams and external compresses too. You don't even have to put the loose herbs. You can just soak it inside of the herbal infusion and use that as a compress. I use a lot of elderflower on little ones for sinus issues, runny nose, drippy and fever and things like that. So, with little ones, it's hard to get it inside of them. You got to be mindful. Those soaks, clod soak and herbal infusions can be great for that. Good question.
I love me some yarrow. That's something that I love to like keep on deck as well too. For all the reasons that Martina said, for any like menstrual type of issues. So I always talk about that too. Definitely when we talk about yarrow. So some people use it to bring on their cycle. Some people use it to balance out, like if they're bleeding too much, too heavily on their cycle, right?
Oh.
But it's a balancing herb. So it's going to give you sometimes what you need. But you got to learn how to work with it, because for some people, like it can bring on a menstrual cycle too strong. I haven't seen that. I've only read about that part, but I've only seen the opposite. So I can say that what I've seen. But it really is an herb that deals with the blood and blood flow. So it's one of them. So it's always good to have some yarrow flowers, some yarrow leaves on deck.
I see someone on the call. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying. I am shouting somebody else. Sayana Devotion. How are you doing? It's good to have you on the call. And I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself real quick and say hi. I would love to hear your voice, but I have a story to tell you.
Peace, y'all. I apologize for being late. I was in the waiting room and ended up having to step away, so I'm not sure what I missed in the beginning. But when I came back, y'all were talking about switches and yarrow, and spit.
Thank you. I love that. I had to shout you out real quick because I don't know if you're aware of this, but about 14 years ago, I lived in the Bronx, and I was pregnant with my child. And I reached out. You were one of the first people I reached out to because I had a horrible experience in the South Bronx and Bronx Lebanon Hospital, which I'm very grateful for because it led me into connecting with some beautiful birth workers. And I ended up working with Maymanier, out of Brooklyn, who was right in the same neighborhood as my aunt, which was crazy. It was like divine synchronicity. And I wanted to get a doula, and I was looking around and your name came up, but although you weren't available at that time, you put me on to, I think it's called Sacred Song Doula. You put me onto a lot of
Ancient Song,
yeah, you put me onto resources, and that was 15 years ago. And I just I never had the opportunity to connect with you again. And I'm just like, oh, this is beautiful. So I wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate that. And I'm so glad you got the support you needed. Yeah, Maymanier was one of my early mentors. And I just continued to work in the field as much as I could until I eventually became a midwife myself. and train doulas all across the country.
Nice, dope. Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you
I'm
for
happy to be here with
explaining.
y'all.
Yeah, we happy to have you. We happy. This is the Herbal Cipher, y'all.
Yeah,
Everybody
I'm
here
working on
tonight.
some stuff and I just happened to see this pop up. So I'm like, ooh, it's 8 o'clock. Let me try to get in here. Thanks for
Nice.
holding the space.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Thank you for being here. Definitely respect. So, y'all check Sai out. I'm always reading your posts and cracking up on Facebook,
I
but
hope so.
oh my gosh, I'm always laughing. So, but thank you for being here. So, but yes, y'all, everybody else, please, y'all support the sister because she is so dope.
Thank you. I'll drop the info in the chat.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Peace.
Right. Right, y'all. So look, man, we talking about herbal styptics. Asia just dropped some more gems, yarrow internally, how it synergizes with what the body needs. So building that relationship with the herbs is important, right? Yeah, I'm loving this. Anyone else want to share some herbs? What's in y'all herbal bag? What are some things that your ancestors or your elders had, or things that you started? Because sometimes we start traditions, right? So right here and right now.
I know Larry's starting some traditions already. He's heavy with that hibiscus and cloves.
Yeah, I'm loving the journey, Larry. The past 3 Herbalist Lounge. I love how you've been tuning in and just sharing your stories about hibiscus and clove and getting that right ratio for yourself, you know? So that's dope.
I've been using lavender, lavender, hibiscus. Those two I've been using for a really nice tea mix. Um, but just the lavender by itself has really been helping me lately. And if I'm thinking back to like my grandmother, I believe we used to have mint on our family's property, and I think they said catnip. But I do remember her going, my great grandmother going to the little creek by our property, and there was yellow root there.
Ooh, tell us more about the yellow root, because I'm already thinking of doctrine of signatures and some areas that it might have an affinity to. But what do you remember about it?
So I didn't remember much. I really didn't remember. I just remember her taking me down to the water. I remember seeing the color of it near the creek, and her pulling. But I was like, what is she doing with these sticks? Um, but I didn't know much back then. And so it wasn't until maybe about 2, 3 years ago, I went back to my family's land and I asked my cousin, I was like, what kind of herbs are growing on our land? And he was the one who brought it back. And he was like, yellow root. And I was like, yellow root. He was like, yeah, it would be over by the creek. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait, because I know I've taken it before as a tea. Um, and I've taken catnip before, but I didn't know we had it. And I didn't remember like the purpose of the yellow root. So I wasn't taught herbs from my great grandmother. My grandmother introduced me to herbs, but more of the basic ones like peppermint or peppermint, mainly peppermint. I'm sure my grandmother had some other ones, but it wasn't a lot. And then once I got a little older, just that small introduction from my grandmother is what pushed me to learn more about natural remedies, which is how I got into herbs. And then I became a grower. So, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so now I have two questions. Do you remember how the yellow root tasted, and uh, what do you grow?
So the yellow root is bitter. Um, it was bitter to me. It's still bitter to me. It doesn't taste good, but I know it's good for the body. Um, Personally, I've grown lemon balm. I've grown aloe, rosemary, In my yard, I have plantain, the narrow leaf. I have chickweed in my yard. I also have kudzu in my yard. I don't use that much, but I know you can. And then I have a mimosa tree in my yard.
That's fun. That is fun. That's some good stuff you got growing. You got some good medicine. All right. So yeah, I would think that yellow root. And so I'm only using doctrinal signatures because I have no idea how it looks just by what you're describing to me. It is probably very cleansing to the liver, gallbladder area. It's probably a bitter tonic, and it can dry you out, but definitely good for that area and the bile. So cleaning out the bile ducts because of that yellow color. But of course, it would need research, you know. But typically, when we see some of those herbs with those colors, it corresponds to that section in the body. And so it is possible, likely, that it is has an affinity towards that area. So that's what we're thinking. Probably some good flavonoids, high in vitamin C, but um, I'll let you find out what that is, and then hopefully you can come back and report that. But yeah, you brought some good stuff. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I love that question. What kind of herbs are growing on your land? And that mimosa, the lemon balm, the chickweed, like, come on now, you got a whole apothecary out there, you know? That's beautiful. And I love how you said that you told your story in your journey, how all that beautiful experience going back led you into growing. That's dope. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So Clarissa, peace, Clarissa. Speaking of dopeness, says lavender is my go-to at births. My clients love to smell the lavender in the diffuser. Okay. So we got some lavender love tonight. And before we continue, I wanted to, is Lanita on, Asia? I wanted to go ahead and let Lanita say peace to everyone. Are you there, sis?
What?
Yep.
Finally.
Hey, what's up? Spice?
Forever to get in here, but I'm here. I wasn't gonna stop until I got in. So I am Lanita. I am calling y'all all the way from Senegal, and it is after midnight here. But I am sipping on some white bee sop, and I'm telling you, it's got me ready for this combo. So hey, let's go.
Let's go.
So I'm gonna ask you the question. What's
Mhm.
B-Sop, Lanita? What's that? Let's tell the folks what B-Sop is.
It is hibiscus sabdarifa or sabdifara, one of them, but it's a hibiscus. Normally we know it as hibiscus, Jamaican sorrel, zobo. It has so many names Hymica, don't let me forget that one. All over the globe it is, but most people are used to the red one. But I'm drinking the white one, and it has here in Senegal, they use it more for cooking with it because it has a nice citrus flavor. It's not as tart as the red, and for me, it's just a nice, smooth drink, high in vitamin C and antioxidants. So good stuff.
Great stuff. Nice.
I just went down the herbal rabbit hole in my brain, in one part of my
Mhm.
brain, not sure which side, but when you mentioned the B-Sop, the white one, and compared the red, and how
Mhm.
it has, like, just different herbal constituents and whatnot, so it
Mhm.
has different flavor profiles and energetics.
Mhm.
You made me think about the tea plant, where black tea, green tea, and white tea come from. So when you said
Mhm.
that, think about green and white tea, how it has a lighter note,
Mhm.
and it's not as strong as the black tea, which is darker, the leaves, the more mature leaves, right? I don't know, it just made me think of that. But yeah, chemistry.
It's kind of like that too. And then, with the red bee stop, they'll tell you that it's good, doctorate of signatures, that it's good for the blood, it's good for high energy, it's good for a lot of, especially female issues. But with the white bee stop, it works more on the respiratory system. It helps with irritating coughs. It helps with bronchitis, but also it does help with anemia. So I guess that white is, even though it's white, it's still working with the blood too, just like the red, but in a different way. So yeah, it's got a whole lot of different, but not too different characteristics from the red.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share a comment on the hibiscus too?
Please do.
Because everybody's been mentioning it. So I actually love is an understatement with my relationship to hibiscus, but I grew it last year here in Chicago. And that was like an even deeper connection I got to have with it, especially because a lot of people were surprised that it actually grew here. And I think I just put it in the ground at like the exact right time. But I seed saved it and I'm growing it again this year. And in Haiti we call it tissue black. So along with all the other names, like that's one of the other names. But I absolutely adore hibiscus.
Wait, you grew this in Chicago and you got flowers?
I did, and it thrived like
Man, I grew
so
it in
much so
A
Texas
that
and
magical
never got
question.
flowers.
Ooh, when's the magical time that you plant it, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
so I got it up here because Chicago's growing season is like really small compared to
Or
everywhere else.
Mhm.
You have to get it in anything by Mother's Day, they tell you. So if you get it in before, that's fine, but by Mother's Day is fine. But it didn't start like popping until like mid-September, actually, because I had
Right.
got back from a trip and came back and it was like, whoa, it was like, hello, we here. And yeah, it was a whole thing. Like I made artwork about it, like I was sharing the seeds. It was a whole thing.
Did you
And
start it
most of the
inside?
people, no, I direct sold it. Like I direct
Wow.
this year, I actually some of the seeds I started in the greenhouse and they germinated pretty quick. So that was a good sign. But I still direct sold like some too this year. And it came up.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'm
I was very
jealous.
excited about it.
Look,
But
Alexandra,
I,
when you
I
come,
did I
listen,
did
that's
put a couple
exciting.
seeds. I put a couple seeds in my mom's garden back home in Florida, and she just the other day was like, "Oh, whatever you put like came up." I was like, "Oh yeah, now we rocking."
Hey, we
So
about to
yeah,
have a party.
yes.
So
Oh,
I have
and
a question
Alexandra,
for
if
you.
you haven't done it, just go up and eat some of the leaves. It tastes like a sweet tart kind of candy. I was just like a little
I
gopher
think if
out
I
there.
did that, because I
Yeah.
do that a lot with okra, but I was trying to
Uh-huh.
think, did I do that with the hibiscus? I'm gonna try that this year then, or this summer.
The leaves are fantastic if just eaten raw. And then also you can use them if you make a callaloo. It can,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I use the leaves in callaloo and it comes out really good. So unfortunately in Texas, all I ever got was leaves. I got a
Oh,
big
really?
leaves. Never got to the flowering stage.
Oh yeah, they thrive up here.
Mm. Well, good to know.
So we got more love for hibiscus. We're gonna have to have a whole herbalist lounge just on hibiscus again and share some hibiscus recipes. That's what I was gonna ask you, Alexandra. Do you have like a Haitian hibiscus brew recipe?
So the way I make it is with there has to be ginger, Orange, I usually put, and then star anise, cinnamon, clove. You can do peppercorn if you're feeling it. And then I usually do like honey or maple syrup for a sweet. I usually do honey actually for the sweetener. And that's how I've been making it for folks, because I realize a lot of folks, like native Chicagoans, they have never heard of it. So funny enough, during Juneteenth a couple years ago, I just made a bunch and I was like, this is a different version of the red drink. And so I was just introducing people to like hibiscus, and it was cool to see like everybody's reaction to it. But those are my go-to like add-ins. And you can do a little rum for late night on the side, like if you want. But
Little
yeah.
late night creep.
Yeah.
Yeah, go throw that rum up in there.
I love it. I love it. Oh goodness. All right.
Hey,
What have you
Alexandra,
made?
where did you get your seeds from? Your first seeds?
I got them from, I actually gotta look back. It was a black seed company, because that's usually where I get most of my seeds from. And it's only like
Mm,
5 that I shop from. And I
okay.
think it was either Seed Mail Co. or I think it was them. Because when I tried to trace it back, I was trying to see, where did I get these from? But I was also telling people when I was giving them the seeds, like, if they are also in a like warm or a cold place, because I was sending them to people in
Mm-hmm.
New York and like Portland, I was like, this should be
Mm-hmm.
fine, because if it grew here in Chicago, like it'll be ready for whatever cold like your city has. So I'm curious to see how it does in my mom's
Mm-hmm.
backyard, where it's hot all year round.
Cool.
So I'm looking at
Martina grows the hibiscus in Florida.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna have a party, Alexandra, when you come back. So link me up, okay? Lanita, I just met Alexandra through a friend that just we just met by chance a couple days ago. One of my friends
Mm-hmm.
is in Chicago. He's like, I thought about you. You need to meet this person. He was out there at her farm in Chicago a couple days ago, and he's like, he just put her on the phone with me, and we started talking, and I
Basically.
forgot about my friend, right? I forgot all about him, and I was like, you need to come to the Herbalist Lounge, and boom, this is how. And then I find out her people are from Central, well, she's from Florida, and
Yeah.
we gonna be having a hibiscus party on the late night creep. You feel me? Soon. I
Oh,
can't.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, see, I have seeds from Lanita, from Senegal. I have a variety of seeds. I have different varieties of okra because of Lanita. So yeah, very, 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 two of my very favorite plants, okra, hibiscus. I'm just a fan of the mallow family in general. It's just an amazing plant family. But yeah, absolutely. And yeah, y'all are invited. Y'all ain't know that? Everybody's invited. Anyone in this cipher is invited. Okay. Your invitation will be sent out via the pigeon messenger.
We already we here.
But we do have a question about butterfly pea flower. It's particularly during its use in pregnancy and lactation. Um, So first off, I want to throw it out there. Does anyone have any personal experience with butterfly pea or has ever worked with any clients or family when it comes to that for pregnancy or lactation? Nobody? Okay.
I've had it, but I didn't know it was for those things. Like I just had it in a tea mix. And it was really good, but I wasn't sure I think I was told, and then I was just mesmerized by the color, so I wasn't really paying attention. Um, but I'd be surprised if it was good for lactation and stuff. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, as I'm sure a lot of people already know, when it comes to herbs and birth work, pregnancy, all phases, preconception, conception, birth, pregnancy, postpartum, everything in between, lactation, herbs are just like that complementary aspect. But at the same time, you just got to be mindful, right? There's certain herbs that I know people have used because it was traditional, and then you sometimes go on and you find people are like, do not use that herb. It's contradicted or it's contraindicated during pregnancy. For example, hibiscus is an herb that I used as an infusion during my pregnancy. I have a long-standing relationship with hibiscus, and of course, I'm not drinking like gallons of the deeply overnight infused whatnot. So I was being mindful. But butterfly pea is one of those herbs that one of a client that was sent to me for something different actually used here locally during pregnancy and lactation. And I know it's high in flavonoids. So, and it's very hydrating. It's very hydrating. So in the sense of hydration, immune support, I can see where it can be very supportive, especially for lactation and promoting flow for breast milk. And I also can see where it can be nourishing, like mixed with something like nettles, milky oats, or whatnot, whatever other herbs that you may use as a tonic during pregnancy. My rule of thumb is, if I don't have a lot of personal experience with it, or if it's not something that the client's worked with, always just to be mindful. But yeah, I've also heard of a few people drinking that tea beverage during pregnancy and lactation. So, but not personally.
Okay, so I'm gonna be that person. I have to go there because I didn't know what butterfly pea was, and I looked it up, and the name of it is Clitoria ternatia. All right, and then I see somebody typed in here something about an aphrodisiac, and I'm thinking Clitoria. I don't know about the doctrine of signatures, but if you look at it, it does look like it's calling you.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, is it actually an aphrodisiac?
Or maybe it just has an affinity to that part of the female body, the
To
body.
stimulate, huh? Maybe.
That's a
Well,
good
yeah.
signature connection.
With the picture of it, it looks like a wide open mouth.
It looks just like the Latin name suggests.
Okay.
Lanita. Oh my goodness. Yes. And hey, speaking of aphrodisiac, when you think of lactation and that stimulation, right? And gets things flowing to the breast, that moisture, that hydration. I'll restate it, stimulation. So absolutely. There you go. Right? Boom. Look at that. You see how the cipher comes all together?
Nice.
Talk to some more people about butterfly pea though. So yeah, I actually got some seeds. It grows out here, it just pops up with passion flower. That's another good one, passion flower. Especially for just to ease the nerves postpartum. But yeah, gonna put some seeds in and ask Alexandra to blow her breath on it or something, Alexandra, if you don't mind. Your green thumb and your green breath, apparently. Oh, dope. Yep, good old passion flower. Now that's a good one. And Clarissa says cozy socks on the feet in postpartum, warm showers, warm compresses on the breast. When I think of the breast too, I think about calendula, which is another one of my go-to herbs, y'all. Calendula infused oil for the breast, to help out with those knots. An herb that was suggested to me during postpartum with my first birth for stagnation was burdock root. Yeah, my midwife suggested that, and I worked with burdock root and learned how to cook with it in stir fries, did a little light infusion with it, and calendula infused oils. So
And another thing that calendula infused oil is, I don't know how many of y'all are pet lovers here, but I had puppies that had fly bites on their ears, and the flies just kept eating the spots that they had already bitten in. and the poor puppies were suffering. And I put that calendula oil on there. Not only did it help it to heal, but it also kept the flies off of their ears while it was healing. So the calendula oil is multi-purpose everywhere.
Okay.
And what did you say the burdock, you were told the burdock was good for? Because I have some also in a jar with honey that's been sitting in there for like almost 2 months now that I'm about to strain, but I forgot what they had told me it was good for. But I remember when they told me what it was good for, I was like, okay, I want to use that. But what were you told about it?
So during postpartum, I had some major congestion in my lymphs near my breast. So to kind of help release that stagnation, I use burdock infusion. Burdock root has a really strong affinity for, the liver, for the lymphatic system. It has an affinity to get things moving from stagnation. And I always say, like, when you're working on the lymphatic system, you got the liver. That's one of the biggest cleansers. The skin is a big cleanser. And with the blood, when waste go into the blood helps circulate it out. It goes into the urine, our stools. But the blood has a pump, which is the heart, right? And then our lymphatic system. Also, I used to call it, like, when I was studying, I used to say the lymphatic system helps cleanse the blood. It's like the vacuum cleaner in the blood. That's what I used to tell myself. And I was like, but the lymphatic system needs some love too. So a lot of times, you can get that. What's really good to stimulate the lymphatic system is movement, busting a sweat, just, or doing those what do they call them, like the hot cold water circulation rotation.
Oh, the
But
plunger? Or
yeah, or
okay.
just hot, like when you're in the shower and you do
Oh, yeah.
like hot cold water kind of stimulates it or whatnot. They have all kinds of things nowadays to stimulate the lymphatic system, but burdock root does have a strong affinity for that. Calendula as well as an infusion, it is something that also has an affinity. But with burdock root, for me, during postpartum, and once again, like, you hear all kinds of things. People have been working with herbs traditionally for a long time. I had this beautiful relationship with my midwife with burdock root, and I called it the gentle cleanser, because although it has this affinity to the lymphatics and to the liver and the skin specifically, like when you have rashes or skin or outbreaks, burdock root sometimes in certain cases can be indicated. But to me, it was very gentle but super effective, and I love that. You know how sometimes you think you got to get something that's harsh to do the job, like, oh, it has to be super bitter to get the cleansing and get things, or super hot and spicy. To me, burdock has such a mellow taste and flavor. And the one thing I loved about burdock, it's everywhere in New York, in the city. It's everywhere. Probably, I'm not sure about Chicago, but probably because it thrives in that cooler weather. Um,
Yeah,
so
that and dandelion is like everywhere here.
yeah, because you don't get
But
the
a lot
dandelions
of
in
people don't
Florida.
know about the magic of dandelion. So it just grows like all over.
Mm.
I saw the burdock growing in Germany, and it's huge in Germany. It looked like, collard greens. The leaves were so big. And I thought that was unusual, but I guess it does have an affinity for that cold weather.
Hmm.
You know what else grows really well here is mugwort. It's like absolutely everywhere, but like nobody knows what it is. So it just grows like wild in the parks, like outside your door, everywhere.
Mm.
And
Okay.
mugwort is a good one, but my first intro to mugwort was a little rough. So I was like, I'm gonna put you down for a little bit because I don't appreciate I didn't appreciate all that. Um, but yeah, because I think I overdid it like when I was first introduced to it. And I feel like it's slowly coming back like into my life through like tea blends that I'm finding and things like that. But people were like, yeah, it's the dreams and all this and all that. And I was like using the oil, I was taking the tea. I was like, yeah, let's just do mugwort everything. And yeah, that dream, I was like, yeah, I'm good on this. So I had to lay it down. But an herbalist friend of mine said that when you are working, or she told me when you're working with herbs, like sometimes the herbs will introduce themselves to you in a way of like, how did she put it? It was like they're gonna show you how you need to come to them. So like you think you may be like, yeah, I'm gonna just eat all this stuff and ingest all this stuff. And she's like, they'll tell you what, like you either need to slow down or like come to me this way. So I thought that was interesting when I told her about that.
Yeah, for sure. They really do. And I mean, there's chemicals in the herbs and plants in general. They're designed to do that. Like if they're being used in a certain way that, threatens their survival, then they'll definitely, change their chemistry to either become more bitter or
Mm.
a bit more poisonous, right? Or I think even like on a spiritual, metaphysical type of level, you're talking about your dreams. I mean, they're beings as well as we are, right? So they can communicate, and they will. So for sure, I absolutely wholly agree with what you're saying because they do it.
Mm.
But yeah. So yeah, like as we're talking about these things, some of these things are what we inherited from our ancestors. Some of the things we don't even realize that we did, um, and we're still using it, or we're just now putting it into practice, and we're handing it down to the next generation and sharing it with our communities. That's a whole nother thing too. Making sure like what we're doing right now, because herbs are community. Herbs are about community. They grow in community. You never see just a singular plant. It's very rare. And even if you see like a singular tree, there's still so many things, whether it's the fungi, uh, the microbes and different things, that it's still in community growing. There's still a whole bioregion and a community around it to help it to grow, and it's also giving back. So when we think about like Juneteenth, um, those are some of the things that I think about, like even just going back to that, like growing up again in Texas and thinking about when we would celebrate Juneteenth, it was always about community. We would always meet at, the local park for potluck and barbecue and stuff. And we would always have our street festivals, but it would always be the young to the elders and everybody in between. And, we're sharing knowledge, we're talking about business, we're exchanging just different things, whether it's we're um, in commerce with each other, but we're sharing, and so that's what this is about. So I thank you all for like sharing, and I'm not saying that this is the end, but I just really wanted to point out like how this build is going, and it's really a good model for everything that we've talked about and everything that we continue to do with herbs and with plants, and just showing up like how they do, is so important. So we can keep the conversation going.
You,
If there's
you
some
know that for Juneteenth, people talk about watermelon, red soda water, and fried chicken and all of that. But a lot of people sleep on the benefits of watermelon.
Mm,
They're just discovering all of the benefits of even the seeds. Sometimes when we were kids, they would say, don't eat past the red part, but you can eat all the way down to the rind. And I just saw recently in China, they're using the rind to make noodles out of it. They're making watermelon noodles. So the watermelon has so many good benefits for us, just hydrating you, actually as a diuretic and helping the system. So, the things that they make fun of us for, the watermelon, the red soda, and or the Kool-Aid that we were drinking and the fried chicken, that was actually a very healthy, balanced meal, and was helping our bodies stay healthy. So we want to let go of the things that we learned from our ancestors or even our older relatives. But some of that stuff, we need to go back to it and revisit it. Don't believe the hype about it's not good. Some of it was very good, and we just, we let it go because it's not the popular thing to do.
I agree with you because I recently just saw an Instagram video where someone was making, she made these gluten-free vegan cookies using watermelon seed. Um, I guess she ground it up like the powder and then added it into the mix. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know like people were doing that because I love watermelon, but I eat the seeds. So like I'll cut it up and just like that's always been a habit of mine since a kid. So it it never occurred to me to like save. I mean, unless I'm gonna plant it, but like I was like, oh, I guess you could do. So I was like, can't it just do that in my body because I already eat it. But it was funny that you just said that because I was like, I just saw that like 2 days ago, and I was like, what? So I'm probably gonna try. I saved the video so that I could try that recipe. But watermelon is amazing for us.
It is. And pumpkin seeds too. Pumpkin seeds are really good, and they are anti-helmintic, which means that if you have parasites, worms, or other parasites, the pumpkin seeds can help to eliminate that. And they're good for your pets too. Feed your pets the pumpkin seeds. So all of these things, we use every part of the plant. They in New Orleans, they joke about the pig. If they kill the pig, they say they eat it from the rooter to the tutor. And so that means they use every part of the pig is used. But we also need to look at our plants. We say we'll just eat one part of it, but all the parts of it, the stems, the leaves, just like we were talking about the bee-stop, you can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves, the whole plant is fantastic. And many of our plants that we use, have multi-purposes, and you can use different parts of the plant, and it works. It has so many different uses, so it's just great to learn to see how many different ways you can learn to use a plant. Also, hibiscus is a great dye too, very strong dye. Oh, papaya. Papaya pepper is good too. I just recently did that. You take the papaya seeds and grind them up, and you can sprinkle it over your food. And it's actually really good for your digestive system. And it has a nice peppery flavor to it. Also, Vitex Agnes, what's her name? Monk's pepper or chaseberry. Those are all different names for the same plant. That monk's pepper is a very good seasoning too. You can use that as a seasoning. You can use it for all kinds of things too. Sorry, falling down the rabbit hole.
I'm about to jump in there too. And a lot of people say they don't like the taste of papaya. Papaya is such a great healer. Well, papaya is communicating with you saying, hey, take these seeds and grind it up and add it to your papaya, and it just balances out the taste so lovely. And the papaya leaves, like you said, different parts of the plant, that papaya leaf. Now you talk about some bitter. Listen, that's some bitterness. You mugwort, Cersei, look, you better watch out for papaya because papaya don't play. And that is something when I'm traveling, I don't like having stomach upsets, but let's just face it, you sitting on a plane in a certain low, at a 90-degree angle. And if you're tall like me, you know what I'm saying? You feeling all kinds of ways. Indigestion, eating different when you're traveling, you got to have something for the digestion. So I love the fact that people are bringing up these different things. So when inside my herbal bag, while I might not be able to bring a papaya, you know, I can have some of the dried up leaves. A little bit of that goes a long way, or the papaya seed ground up with a little bit of my cayenne pepper in a separate situation. Now you go through TSA, they're gonna be looking at you like, what's really going on? You were like, hey, better leave me alone. These are my herbs. But also I'm thinking of digestive bitters, like just I have a little tincture bottle and a couple drops of that to really kind of get that just get your digestion kick started. And I think about you, Lanita, because there's an herb that when we were in Morocco last year, Lanita, you
Mhm.
call it tea. Lanita, just let me tell you about Lanita. I call Lanita MacGyver herbalist. You know, MacGyver back in the day used to make stuff out of all kinds of weird things, but Lanita will make things out of like things you can't even imagine. And also just super clever is basically what I'm trying to say. And being prepared and having things on deck. And you had a tea. What was in that tea? And then there was something else that we mentioned that you see at the Indian restaurants and they chew on it. What is it? Was it
Mhm.
fennel? Was it
That's right.
a little bit
So
of
I
fennel?
had this, yep, fennel, CCFT, cumin, coriander, and fennel.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that cumin, coriander, fennel, that CCFT balances your doshas so that if you drink it in the morning, it makes you alert. If you drink it at night, it puts you to sleep. So it's perfect for that. And the digestive that they have at the uh, restaurants, it's fennel and I want to say coriander. I think, yeah, it is. It's coriander and fennel. And they have some mint covered coriander in there too. So that is really good for settling the stomach, for any type of indigestion. If it's, you know, too much acid, if it's just gurgling in your stomach, it kind of calms your stomach down. And that's something that I have like in a little um, like a little lip balm case. And so that no matter where I go, you never know what you're going to get to eat, get a hold of, and you always got something with you.
What was the thing you mentioned? The CDCF something? It
See,
sounded like 3 letters.
it was a CCF, cumin, coriander, and fennel.
So like just mix those together and then you
Yep.
can make it like steep it in some water or something.
So I just take the seeds, the cumin seeds, the coriander seeds, and the fennel seeds, and I put it in a little tea ball and drop it in a cup of hot water. And I really love that for bedtime, and I love it first thing in the morning. It has the effect, like I said, it balances your doshas and just you feel mellow after you've drank that. So, but
Okay,
equal
I'm gonna have to
parts,
try that.
yeah, equal parts of the CCF.
Okay.
Martina, you mentioned the tincture, and you know my favorite tincture, rutabakia, that black-eyed Susan. Um, I can't leave home without that, especially if I'm changing climates, because here it's hot, and if I'm going into Europe or going into the US and it's cold, I'm gonna get the sniffles. I'm gonna get something, especially on a plane. People, germy. So having that black-eyed Susan tincture is super good for boosting your immune system. If you get a hold of some kind of little bug, it helps you get rid of it faster. And I use rum to make my tincture, and as opposed to vodka, because if you buy the real expensive vodkas, it's not so bad. But of course, I'm buying the cheap one, and it's not good. But if you use rum, it tastes good, and it is, I mean, not like you taste it, but it goes down better, and it is just as effective. You just have to make sure you get a high proof rum, and make your tinctures with it. So,
I use Ray and Nephew high proof Jamaican rum.
okay.
All turkey bourbon is really good too. It's warming. I agree with you. I like to make all my tinctures with stuff like that. It synergizes and it brings out warmth. I do like the
Mhm.
vodka if I want to have like a neutral, a neutral taste and let the herb come through. But yeah, you're right. That
Mhm.
does synergize with most of the things that I tincture.
Mhm.
And tinctures are easier to carry with you. It's nothing to measure. You got your dropper in the bottle already, and boom, you good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you
Nice,
can throw
nice,
that
nice.
in your drink, or you could just put it straight up under your tongue and keep it.
Mhm.
I'm also gonna
And
try the papaya seed, the ground up papaya pepper. I think
mhm.
y'all said it was. I'm gonna try that out
Good.
because I'm one of those people that's not a fan of the taste. Well, I'm not a fan of papaya when it's just like the fruit cut, but I guess when it's like made into a juice, somehow my stomach is a-okay with it.
Well,
But when it's just like regular fruit, I don't know.
I think it depends on where it's from because when I lived in Hawaii, papayas grown in Hawaii, I absolutely love. And I love it with lemon juice on it from like a fresh lemon. And I will eat the seeds, I will eat everything from that papaya. It's so good. But some of the papayas that, well, not even some, all the papayas that I've tasted in Texas, to me, they have like a rotten taste. So I think it just
Mhm.
Mm.
where it's from and how long it's been traveling and how it was grown. But yeah, if it's something that you don't necessarily like the fruit taste, then yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. Go and get them seeds together.
And you know that there's two types of papaya. I didn't know that until I was checking it out here. Some people call it pawpaw. Well, I guess that
Oh,
depends
papa?
on how far in the south. And yeah, pawpaw is papaya. Well,
Wait, really?
it's a different kind of papaya. I mean, it's a papaya, but pawpaw and papaya are from the same family. Can I say that? And in some
Oh.
places they call it papaya and it's really pawpaw, and vice versa. Some places it's pawpaw and they call it papaya. So yeah, those are that's why some of it tastes different because I don't like papaya either. I'm with you, but I do like the papaya pepper with the ground seeds. So it is more palatable to me that way.
Hmm.
Yep, pawpaw. I just remember Mississippi, they always would sing a song about Paw Paw Patch. And I was like, what's the Paw Paw?
I love the way you said that. Pow pow.
You should tell us how to make a tincture without alcohol
Without
for our teetotalers.
uh
Mhm.
oh, I was about to talk about a glycerite, definitely.
Mhm.
Um,
There you go.
you can use vegetable glycerin, just like you would use alcohol. And then you combine it with the herbs. So there are ways to measure that out. I would have to pull that out of my arsenal, but right now when we're talking about just kind of like the granny method, and of course it
Mhm.
depends on the herb because some herbs, they can be extracted easier in glycerin versus alcohol. Like
Mhm.
constituents will come out better. Or you can use apple cider vinegar, which is another way. So some of these things, and you use apple cider vinegar in the place of alcohol as well. So the reason why we're doing these things is because there are some people who have like alcohol sensitivities, some people who
Mhm.
don't want alcohol in their diet. They don't want to consume it for whatever reason. Or you have
And
children.
for children. Mhm.
Yep, you don't want the babies to, ingest the alcohol. Or older folks, they could be sensitive to it as well. Or, you can have medications that can contraindicate things. Alcohol can thin your blood out, and if you're on some medications that, you know, thin your blood out, you don't want to add to it, right? So there are many different ways. Now, these methods, they won't get into your bloodstream and your system as fast, but they still work. So it's still worth using. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, because me, I'd rather have a rum tincture versus a vodka tincture.
Mhm.
But you know, sometimes I don't even want either one of them. So, or
Mhm.
something else you could do, like if you have a tincture made of alcohol, but you have somebody that, you know, can still have some alcohol in their system, but they're a little bit sensitive to it. Like when like if you're making a tea with some other herbs, you can drop the alcohol tincture in there as the water is boiling. So you're cooking out the alcohol, but you still have the benefits of the herb in there as well too. So that's another way to kind of get around it. I wouldn't recommend that for the babies and people who don't want alcohol at all in their system. But for those folks that are like, okay, you know, then I think that's another method you could use.
What were some of the herbs that were better in glycerin? Like,
Now,
do you know a couple of them?
it's been a couple of years since I've like gone and went down that line, but um, you know, while we're talking, if I'm able to get into my vault, then I can share a link with y'all. So I'm gonna let y'all keep talking and I'm gonna look for it.
All right.
So just out of experience and just thinking at the top of the dome, because I love glycerites, Asia, especially with the children, and I'm not even front for myself too. Um, I like to infuse, while aromatic herbs are great to be infused inside of alcohol, because, you know, with the aroma, things that are high in aroma, like the lemon balm, lavender, for example, there when you different like Asia said, I'm trying to think of a way to simplify this because my like I said, my brain works a special way. But if you have water, you have glycerin, vegetable glycerin, and you have alcohol, you have all these different solvents, right, that can extract the herbs, and you have all these different wonderful chemicals that synergize inside the plants. Different constituents have different means of extraction. Like I think a really popular one is THC, right?
Mhm.
Tea is fat soluble. So usually if you're trying to extract, I heard people say, I made a tea, but it didn't make me feel, you know, I didn't get that feeling like when I smoked the herb or when I do this or that with the herb or put it in an herbal butter and make cookies with it. I'm like, oh, that's THC, you know, it's
Mhm.
soluble in fats and stuff. So when I think of glycerites, those aromatic herbs, those volatile oils, which are essential oils, they really mesh well inside of glycerites. I also like to use herbs that are high in pollen, like the elderflower. The pollen preserves very well in something sugar, carbohydrates, like in honey or glycerin. Um, then you have herbs that might be mucilaginous. And for example, burdock can be very mucilaginous, okra can be very mucilaginous. And and it depends on which part of the herb too, right? It might, the root could be
Mhm.
from the flower, etc., and the stem and the seeds. So depending on the part, but when you have a herb that's already very moistening, you think about it, mucilage is said to be extracted well in water, you know.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the day, I try things out. That's how I come up with stuff. Like I mixed okra with certain butters for my hair, and I'm like, oh no, this is not it because it separates, or I have to process it in a certain way. But that glycerin, it's sweet. It's sweet in nature. It can be paired well with bitter herbs. Bitters extract very well in water, and bitters also extract very well in alcohol and also in vegetable glycerin. And I like to kind of balance that sweetness with the bitterness too, or those very aromatic herbs that are like woo, like eucalyptus, woo.
Mhm.
But it soothes it and it out or whatnot. So I remember one time too, just to go off again, one of my herbal teachers told me about how what herb was it? What herb were we talking about? Doing a herbal decoction. Was it burdock root? Doing no marshmallow root. So there was a client that they had because they were clinical herbalists, and they were like, you know what? I had a client who had irritable bowel syndrome, and their bowels are really sensitive to sugars. So they do a cold infusion of burdock root, of not burdock, of marshmallow root versus hot. And I thought about that. I'm like, with these solvents, it's not just about alcohol versus vinegar versus water. The temperature also is going to have an effect on what gets extracted and what doesn't. And that's why also with water extractions or herbal infusions, sometimes I'll go ahead and just do a cold infusion, and I find out room temperature water, letting it soak overnight, really pulls out that mucilage way better than hot water boiling it and into a deep decoction would. And in certain cases with the hot water, it extracts more of the carbohydrates, the sugars. So instead of doing it in a hot infusion or using hot water, they would use cold infusion to enjoy more of the healing benefits of the moistening mucilage from the marshmallow root with a little less of the carbs, of the carbohydrates, the sugars in the root. I mean, are there going to be sugars in there? Absolutely. But it just took me down a deeper rabbit hole. Okay, we got solvent levels, solubility rates, and then you got taste and flavors. And then on top of that, you got temperature, hot versus cold, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of other things too. So, yeah.
Don't forget Burcell's ingredient, thyme. How long you let it soak. I mean, how long you leave it in the solvent that you're dissolving it in.
See, now you're talking about alchemy and you get me excited. I'm thinking about fermentation, and that's Burcell is like the alchemist when it comes to the culinary stuff. But
Right.
herbalism, like you said, Lanita, is culinary too. It goes hand in
Right.
hand. So you're absolutely right about that. Mm-hmm.
I'm still going back to our Juneteenth and some of the old things. Has anybody ever heard of using tobacco juice? Uh, tobacco juice for stings, wasps, bees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought that the reason that it worked was because it was so disgusting. You know, you have old people come up to you and either they're dipping snuff or chewing tobacco. They'll take them for bee stings, they use tobacco and they rub that chewed up tobacco on the bee sting. It would pull the stinger out. But like I said, it's so disgusting. You forget about the bee sting, and it's like forget it. But even with snuff, if a wasp stung you, they would just spit the snuff juice on you, the tobacco juice, and those things would help with stings, and they take the sting out of it right away. So that was some old old remedies, but they work. So
I'm a witness to that. I was a little girl and my uncle, there was a bee on my uncle's floor and I was getting ready to step on it and he was like, don't do that. That bee's
mhm.
gonna sting you. I was like, no, it's dead. I'm fine. I stepped on that bee and it stung me. And
Of
he was like,
course.
didn't I tell you? Then he was like, bring me a cigarette. I was like, what is he about to do? Burn my foot? Nope. He took the tobacco out of it, chewed it up, and I was like, oh my God. And he put it on the bottom of my foot. He got the stinger out, and I would just remember being like, that was so nasty. But it worked. Absolutely did.
Was it the disgust of the chewing up of the tobacco and putting it on you, or
Absolutely.
you felt it?
That's nasty. You got to take that and put it on me. Can you?
Yeah.
I think I would have rather have been in pain. Just I know where it came from. That's nasty, but it needed to happen because I was in a lot of pain.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody else has seen that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm almost there, y'all. Look, I'm over here like searching while y'all are talking.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you another quick thing. I'm sorry. You know, Asia, y'all know I'm a camper and I'm out all the time doing anything and everything. But if you have moringas, if you're going to be out someplace and you may have to drink water and you're not sure of the water, you can put moringa seeds in the water, and you can actually see it clears the water up, and it helps with keeping the bacteria down. The other little, what are the name? Giardia, little critters that be in the water that give you diarrhea or make you sick. But if you put moringa seeds in the water, you can drink many types of water. Now, I wouldn't drink sewer water, but you know, if you're around a pond or lake and you're not sure, but you really need some water, you could keep some moringa seeds with you when you're out, when you're going to be out, maybe hiking or something, and throw the moringa seeds in the water, and that will help purify it. You can drink it. Pretty. Anybody got any other old things that we still can use today?
I do.
Mhm.
Got stung by a wasp on my arm. So I took some baking soda and a little water and made a paste to help with, I guess, neutralize it. And then for the swelling, once the baking soda did its part, then I added some aloe on there
Mhm.
to help with the itchiness and some of the swelling.
Definitely. That baking soda comes in clutch because in Texas we have fire ants. And
Mm.
then fire ants will tear you up, but you can make that baking soda paste and put it on there. And the fire ants, you know, it seems you feel the stinging, biting but it swells up the next day. It's not, you know, it's not immediate. But if you put that baking soda paste on there as soon as you get the sting, it doesn't swell up the next day like it would if you didn't put it on there.
Is it so the ants have a time release venom?
I think it takes a time to interact with your body. You know, it's like a two-part thing. You get the immediate sting when the fire ants are biting you, you feel it. But the next day it's worse than the first day bite. Yeah. So it just takes a minute to interact with your body. Martina can tell you about wasp stings.
A little bit too much about wasp stings. I don't know. Yeah, let's just leave it at that, Lanita. We talking
Well, the
about
answer
freedom
is
tonight. Okay. Yeah.
the ice is good though. Ice works.
What did we do when I was out there on your land and I got stung in the forehead by a wasp? The best place of all, right in the forehead. I had an 8 head that night, but yeah, it swelled up pretty intensely. I can't
Yeah.
remember what we did, but I was in the right place to be taken care of because Lanita and I went out and foraged on her land and got some poke. Well, you already had the poke, but we were all out there.
Yeah.
We had some poke salad. What y'all know about that poke
Yep.
salad, huh? What you know about that? We made us some callaloo and
Yeah.
our secret cornbread, y'all. With gotta have that cornbread to stop up the broth,
That's it.
you know?
And we got heel all seeds.
And we got heal all seeds. Yes.
That's it.
I still got seeds from that generation. Generations in the future. I got heal all still to this day from that forage. And we had rutabaga. Remember, we did plant
That's
that.
right.
And look, we was just all out there. Someone mentioned earlier, what do you have growing on your land? New
Yeah.
land, old land, stories. Look, go out there and explore. Like I tell people,
Mhm.
I started this journey and I was living in the Bronx. And I would literally take the train from the last stop on the 5 train way up in the Bronx. I would go all the way down to Manhattan, and on that, like on my walk, I would see all kinds of things in the city, you know, in vacant lots. That's when I learned about clover and how it looks before it flowers, and hawthorn trees and the ginkgo biloba trees, and and the dandelion that would pop up and just communicate with me in the city. So no matter where you're at, if you're on the big old farm and all those acres, or if you're in the city in Chicago growing hibiscus, like, this is our thing. This is what we've been doing, and just tapping into it and having these ciphers is just like an honor. I love it.
One thing about foraging, though, you have to be careful, because I was in Chicago when the goldenrod was growing, and I was so excited because I love goldenrod, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some goldenrod," and my cousin was like, because it's right on the street, it's on the sidewalk, and they were like, "No, we not using that." So I don't know if there's a way to clean those things that have pollutants on it, if you're in a city, but be careful where you're foraging from. You don't want to get stuff that's too close to a highway or any area that may have toxic chemicals or, toxic water, septic water running through it. So you have to be careful when you're out foraging.
Absolutely. Good disclaimer. Because when I tell you, I was learning about them plant life cycles and how to identify and talking to them, they was, the hood plants. It was like, yo, this is about to happen. And I'm like, okay, they all have their own stories. Foraging, I don't know. But yeah, that's a real good point. Now, funny story, when I used to be out in Harlem, there was a group of Chinese folk from Chinatown. They're like, yeah, they used to have shops down there. They would harvest the ginkgo biloba and take it down to Chinatown from Harlem. And I'm just like, wow, this is interesting. But yeah, it's interesting world
It's
we live in.
interesting if they cleaned that before they served it up to you too.
Look, man, yeah, but yeah, I feel you. Sai says, I'm scared of messing with poke. I ain't trying to mess myself up. Gotta know what part and when. Absolutely, you should. That's a herb you gotta have some respect for real.
Yeah, but
Real.
they tell you don't eat the berries because they have oxalic acid in it. But I looked in some old Native American medicinals, and they eat the poke salad berry. So I was like, well, I'm gonna try it too. And I would eat one berry a day. Just go out there and pick a berry and eat it. And it really does help if you have arthritis or rheumatism, some kind of inflammation in the joint. It does help. But you can't just get a whole handful of them and eat them, because they will give you severe diarrhea. And I had an intern that I was saying, oh yeah, you can eat these berries. And she ate one, just like I ate one. She got the flying trots. So everybody's body is different, whereas I could tolerate it and I didn't have a problem. Her body was more sensitive to that berry. But with the leaves, they'll tell you to wash them so many times and before you use them. With the leaves, you just want to make sure that you use them before the red comes up into the stem. When it's when the stem is still green, that's when you pick your poke salad. And that's when you get the best greens. And the reason that they use poke salad, because it was always the first green to come up during the year. So, sorry, just a little trivia for you. But it's good eating, so don't be afraid of it.
But put some respect on it too now, okay?
Oh, definitely put
It's
some
easy
respect
for
on it.
Lanita to tell people, don't be afraid now. Lanita's over here eating the berries and doing all kinds of stuff. Listen, okay? Oh my goodness. Love it, love it, love it. And while we're at it, like, feel free to drop in the chat anything that you have going on. I know we're not even at that slide yet, but why wait? I mean, people are sharing stuff. If you want to share your social media handles, your websites, anything going on, feel free to do so. I love it. I love what I see. I love the sharing in the community.
I wanted to go back for a second. Thank you, Sai, for pulling that up, because I didn't want to mess up the whole slideshow thing that we got going on. But if y'all click on that link that she dropped in the chat, or if you're not able to click on the link in the chat, just look up, you can Google it. It's called Solubility of Plant Constituents by Lisa Ganora. So if you're trying to figure out like, with the glycerin, so like if I use this glycerin, will it get certain constituents out of this plant? Will it get certain benefits that I'm looking for out of this plant? Like what's the best? So I'm just gonna read something like real quick. So like if you go on that chart, look, I'm looking at the bottom right hand side for glycerin, right? And it's saying excellent for aromatic herbs and pungent herbs, excellent for astringent herbs and tannins, right? Excellent for sour herbs. So those type of herbs, if you're trying to pull that benefit out, then yeah, you're gonna want to use a glycerin because it will extract it very well. However, it's saying like good for acrid herbs and resins and alkaloids. So yeah, it'll do it, but not as good as like alcohol, because it's saying it's excellent. Alcohol will pull out the best benefits for acrid herbs like resins and alkaloids. So it's a really helpful chart, like if you're trying to like make more exact medicines and make them like extremely potent. And so I use it all the time. It's just really fun if I'm trying to like make something just like really potent and very specific.
Nice. Thank you.
Mhm.
Make them impotent herbs.
Which is impotent.
Right. Anybody else have anything else they would like to add? I know it's like we can build on this for a long, long time. I am so enjoying the build, the cipher. But I am also going to be respectful of people's times because I think I'm about to get a little bit of mugwort and go into this dream state in a little bit and rejuvenate for early rising.
Did you know mugwort can do two things? Because I was making a tea with passion flower, mugwort, and some other things, and most people drank it and they went to sleep. And I had one person say they drank it and they cleaned their whole house. And so I found out that mugwort, it really can. For me, I call it a finishing tea. If you put the mugwort in your tea blend, it make me finish doing whatever I had planned to do for the day. I'm gonna keep doing it until I finish. So I don't drink the mugwort if I feel like being lazy, but it's still in that same tea blend with the Damiano and passion flower. The mugwort would help me sleep. So you have to be careful when recommending something or telling somebody about it. Know that mugwort goes on both ends. It can like energize you or it can relax you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're trying to stop smoking, you can smoke mugwort. That's what they make the prescription drug out of to get people to stop smoking. That's why that particular prescription causes people lucid dreams. So mugwort is that dream component in that medication.
And it helps you achieve your dreams, apparently. Helps you finish things off.
Yeah, it's definitely a finishing herb.
So side, absolutely. Is there a schedule for Herbalist Lounge? Yes, it's every second Monday of the month. Every second Monday of the month, and it's always 8 p.m. Eastern. And all the other time zones that flow into that, which I'm not going to tell you right now. I just remember Eastern time zone because that's where I'm at. Listen, yeah, it would be an honor to have you come and invite people. I mean, that's what this is all about. So many of you guys have already, you show up, you invite people, tell people about it. That's what we're here for. This is what we do. This is our community. We come in, we build, we cipher, we share. Tonight was a perfect example of what the Herbalist Lounge represents with that mycelium energy. Like I so enjoy hearing people's stories. Lanita threw in that extra tobacco story. Yeah, man. So this is what we do. We just had our 10-year anniversary, right? A couple months ago.
Yeah.
So wait, was it was back in April. We had our 10 month, our
April.
10 month our 10-year anniversary. So yeah, we going strong. This is we gonna be here doing this while we here. We're gonna be doing this. It's an honor.
Mhm. Right. All right. So we kind of talked about we invited everybody. So if you have any upcoming events, I kind of went through that slide really fast, but feel free to drop it in the chat, or you could talk about anything you have going on right now. Because again, this is a community space, so we want to make sure that the community has a chance to speak and share. All right. Well, you still have time because we have a few slides left, but you can always catch the Herbalist Lounge. So if there's something that you heard but maybe you didn't get to write down, or you want to go back through it, or you want to share it with a friend, we always post the recordings of the Herbalist Lounge on YouTube. So if you look us up on YouTube, we're at Herbalist Lounge there, and that's also on Instagram as well. Also, we do have a kitchen medicine making workshop. And I mean, we put all kind of stuff in there. So from making popsicles to making broths and
Poultices.
poultices. We were talking about that earlier. Tinctures, just a bunch of stuff across the medicine making spectrum, but just based on things that you find in your kitchen. Nothing fancy, but I mean, what can you do with that salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, those mushrooms, those different things, right? What can you do to help to maintain your wellness or to help you and your family get better, right? So that is in the medicine making workshop. And that's if y'all are able to drop that link in there, herbalist-lounge.thinkific.com.
Mm.
Right. And then also, if you would like a reminder about the Herbalist Lounge, we always have an email, either like the Sunday before or Monday of the Herbalist Lounge. You can get that clickable link right in your inbox. So you won't have to like type in anything from Instagram. You could just go to your email, click on it, and boom, it'll take you right to the Zoom. So yeah, you can go to that link that Martina dropped and sign up, and you will get that link and any other happenings that are going on with the Herbalist Lounge. All right, and like Sis Martina said, we meet every second Monday of the month, going strong for 10 years. And there are the other time zones right there. Oh, the link did not work, so we will try that again. Oh, there's a P missing MailChimp sites. I see that.
That's what happens when you do it by hand. I was like, HTTPS. Asia, help me, Asia, help me. You usually do that.
I will type it in. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got it. Now we roll. I love you. Thank you so much for dropping that link in there. But yeah, every second Monday of the month. So please share with your herbal curious, your like-minded herbal friends, the people who know how to spell herb and they want to know a little bit more about it. Yeah, share with them, and you can share the recording, and we would love to continue the cipher every month and go spread the herbal word. So thank y'all for joining, and Lanita and Martina, I'll let y'all take it away.
All right. Well, y'all already know how I feel. I think I've expressed it enough tonight. Nah, I didn't express it enough, but I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all get some rest. Listen, it was an honor. Happy Juneteenth. Happy just everything. Big up the ancestors, the ancestors, our community. I'm looking forward to continuing this build. Thank y'all for joining tonight. Every second Monday of the month, I'm passing the mic over to my sis, Lanita.
Hey, y'all, I enjoyed it. I stayed up to 2 a.m. to chat with y'all, but I love every minute of it. Thank y'all for sharing so much information.
All right. So happy Juneteenth, y'all. And we wish y'all the best. Until next time, Super Herb Nerds. Peace, power, and
Peace.
Green
Great
blessings.
blessings.
Peace, peace, y'all.